Welcome to the Be Empowered podcast with your host, Graham Hopkins. My goal is to help you regain your power by bridging the gap between who you think you are right now and who you really are. In simple language, that is like making your childhood dreams come true. This is for those who want to make an impact in their lives but don't know how to get there. Be ensured, when you know and feel connected to your spiritual mind, you master your world. So thanks everybody for joining us today on the Be Empowered show. I have a special guest. Her name is Jackie Trottman from St. Louis, Missouri. Do I pronounce that correctly, Jackie?
Well, I know the Brits and the Aussies say St. Louis, so that's, my mother's from Britain, so I'm used to St. Louis. We say St. Louis, but St. Louis is good. The song is Meet Me in St. Louis, Louis, so.
Okay, so Jackie's an author and management consultant promoting personal and spiritual growth through meditation and mindfulness practices. Jackie says, learning to be still can take your business and personal life from being stagnant and stuck to becoming unstoppable. It means quietening the mind from its negative and constant chatter. Jackie, what do you mean by that?
Well, coming from the field of marketing and advertising, we're bombarded with messages every day, and our world has become really noisy. And I'll tell a story, really, how I came to practice meditation, because for me, meditation meant doing nothing. And I was a busy marketing executive. I didn't have time to do nothing. So all that changed one day. I was always in very hectic sales and management positions. And, you know, you're always sending emails and communicating with people. And one day I was a consultant for a company, and the conference call we were having just kept getting moved. And it was unusual because my son was with me that day and we were supposed to have lunch together. Well, the conference call kept getting moved. And so we had to opt to get carry out. And so we went to the restaurant, brought the food back. And just when we were sitting down to eat, the conference call was scheduled. And I was standing at my kitchen counter and I had my headset on and I had the mute button on and I'm eating my salad. And I thought, I am losing my mind. And as soon as that call was over, somebody had given me a meditation CD, and I immediately scrounged around. I found it. I popped it in to my CD player, and it was an instant calming. And it was such a wonderful experience that I thought, gosh, I can't. I don't only want to do 10 minutes a day. I want to go on to this longer version and do 20 minutes a day. And what was amazing was I didn't realize how full of clutter my mind was. And getting the mind to be still was really hard. I mean, when I was first sitting there, you know, the emails I had to send were going in my head, and then my grocery list and what I was going to make for dinner. And it just took some discipline to quiet the mind. But what was amazing was I started to see and understand things what people were saying. I mean, I was managing a staff of people from St. Louis, and they were in Virginia. And it was a very stressful situation. And before, I was always reacting to every email that people were sending. And I'd be firing off something right away, you know, that, you know, here's how we have to solve the problem. And the meditation caused me to step back. And I would look at the email and I'd say, oh, wow, you know, this is what they're really saying, or this is really a fear-based email. And everybody was trying to cover their behinds, you know, in their job. And I was able to see that, and I couldn't see that before. And so I ended up leaving the traditional workforce because I have always wanted to write and create, and I felt so strongly about meditation, which is what is a main focus of what I do now in creating resources to help people quiet the mind. And what's amazing to me is also my CDs are a little different because I bring God into the equation. And I know growing up in the church and being a Christian, meditation was never taught. And, certainly prayer and devotional time and reading the Bible was taught, but never meditation. It was pretty much an Eastern philosophy. And what I have found is to be still, excuse me, comes from the verse, Psalm 46:10, which is, be still and know that I am God. And that I found so few resources that really had God in the middle of the meditation. It all talks about source and talks about energy or, different things. But to me, meditation has allowed me to be in the presence of God. And, when people are having a tough time and they're going through some situation, they don't want you to talk and they don't want you to say things. They just want your presence. And God wants our presence. And what I found was the effects of meditation far exceeded the 10 minutes or 15 minutes that I was spending. And what I found was my mind was more creative. I was more productive, which it seems counterintuitive that doing less, you could accomplish more. But because your mind is not overwhelmed, it allows you to focus. And anybody that's creative and they've hit a creative wall or they have a block, I would really urge them to practice being still and learning meditation, because it clears the clutter from your mind, just like clearing clutter from your surroundings.
Jackie,
that's what I would say.
A lot of people think that meditation is thinking about nothing. If
Yes.
that is not true, what is still in your mind? What's it mean to you?
That's a really good question. It's kind of creating space. Like my be still and know that I am God meditation uses the verse, and it's getting between the space between the words, and it's really hard to do that. And I think once you're just kind of clearing the anxious thoughts, clearing out the thoughts that are making you feel overwhelmed. And there's this kind of moment, and I can't really explain it, but you kind of go like, ooh, I'm meditating, or I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just in this space of kind of oneness with everything and just being at peace and being still. That's how I would describe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, Jackie, do you mind if I share a little analogy? Because
No, not at all.
I was hoping the space thing would come up. And to help people understand it a little bit more, I actually pulled up a piano program. And in this busy, stressful life that we live in, a lot of our doing sounds like this. Yeah, it's like a child hitting on the piano. Whereas if you are playing something that has harmony, then there's space between the notes. And that's exactly the same with meditation. It's giving you or allowing you to create space between your thoughts. Does that make sense? Could you hear that?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, yes. The harmony is really important. And because music is made up of silence. I mean, it's really the silence and the rests between the notes. I'm a singer in my choir, so I'm very in tune with music. And yes, I would say that exactly. And I mean. And I love it in your book, because you talk about the oneness, and that harmony is creating that music of your life, and it's being integrated, and it's integrating your mind and your heart and your soul and your physical body so that you're a congruent human being, and a whole human being. And that's why I think too, in the discord that the world will give us is that we're bombarded all the time with, you need to have this, and you need to, have the car and the outfits and the designer purse and the, to be a certain weight and look a certain way. And the whole message is that we're not enough.
Yeah.
And it causes that lack and that discord within us.
Well, the discord is created, just like on the piano notes, it's created by no space. When we don't allow space in our mind becomes confused, disharmonized, and dysfunctional.
Well, I mean, our minds are a very sophisticated computer. When you think about it, I mean, your computer can only take so much space. I know when I worked at Clear Channel and I would come into my office constantly, my email would say, oh, you can't have any more emails today because you don't have enough space. And we don't think of our minds being that same way and creating that space.
You also say that 4 of the biggest benefits gained by practicing meditation and mindfulness are unleashing creativity, productivity, clarity and direction, and personal effectiveness. Why do you say that, Jackie?
Well, because you're free, because your mind is free to be filled, instead of being filled with worry and doubts and fears, which are very easy to consume your mind. Then when you have that space, then you can have those blessings and more of the abundance and clarity to come into your life. I was thinking one other thing, and no, it just kind of went. Oh, mindfulness. That's what I was going to say too. When we're mindful, we're aware, and awareness is the key. In my book that I've written, The Freedom to Eat, 10 Secrets for Lasting Weight Loss and Inner Peace, the first secret is awareness, because I know for me, I was sleepwalking through my life. And I think a lot of people are sleepwalking. I call it the rat wheel, that I was on this rat wheel where I would, get up in the morning and use the one bathroom we had to get ready for work. I'd get my son ready. I'd take him to school. I would go into the office, put in my full 8 hours. I'd pick him up. I'd make dinner. I'd do homework. I'd put him to bed. I'd fall into bed exhausted and wake up and do the whole thing again. And I just called that the rat wheel, because I was totally unconscious. And the irony was we had 2 rats at the time, and they had a wheel, but their wheel was fun, because they were getting all their needs met, and they were being provided for, and I wasn't.
Okay, you mentioned you were unconscious. So what's the connection between consciousness and awareness?
It's being fully awake and present. What woke me up was I was taking voice lessons with my choir director, and he was a very animated German young man named Marcus. And so we were in his office, and his back was turned to me, and he was facing the wall at the piano, and then I was standing behind him. And he was instructing me to do something, and he stopped and he swung around on the piano bench and he planted his feet down and he looked at me and he said, "Why won't you let go?" And that was it. I mean, those 5 words changed my life. It was like somebody threw a bucket of ice water in my face, because I was on this rat wheel. I knew why I wasn't letting go. I was in a marriage I shouldn't be in. I was just going through the motions in all of my life. And that's what opened the door to me for awareness.
So
And
keep going.
well, and I was just going to say, I knew I had to do something to relieve the stress. I was clueless about meditation or anything at that point, and I'd had some yoga DVDs that somebody gave me, so I started doing the yoga, and it talked about being gentle with yourself and paying attention to your breathing and to your body. And I mean, I was never gentle with myself. I was constantly beating myself up and, you got to try harder and you're not doing enough. And as far as the weight goes with the yoga, what was interesting was all of a sudden one day lunchtime came around and I wasn't hungry. And for me, if it was breakfast, it was time to eat. If it was lunchtime, it was time to eat. If it was dinner, it was time to eat. I had totally short-circuited my body, letting me know when I was full. And lunchtime came around one day, and I thought, "Wow, I'm not hungry." So I didn't eat. Now, an hour later, I did eat. But what I'm embarrassed to say, with all the hunger in the world, I never felt hungry. I mean, because I never paid attention. So that awareness filtered into every aspect of my life.
So tell us about the weight loss, because I read your book on weight loss probably 3 months ago now, and it prompted me to do something about my weight. So I've actually lost about 5 kilos, which in your pounds is probably about 12 pounds.
Wonderful.
So tell me a little bit about how the mind impacts our weight.
Okay, and I want to talk about the book just really briefly. I decided to go the traditional publishing route. So the book is in front of 18 publishers right now, and so that is a very, very long process. So I'll keep you posted, and you can keep people posted on when the book will actually come out. But the mind is, that's another way with the clutter. I mean, especially, it'd be nice to get a male perspective for women with growing up. I was bombarded with the images of the supermodels and the magazines and beauty and what beauty's supposed to look like. And, now the sizes are like a 0 and a size 2, which I would disappear if I ended up being that size. But all I did was focus on my weight and what I wanted to look like and what I was going to eat that day and everything I put into my mouth. And food for me was not sustenance. It was good or bad. It was either I was on a diet or I was off a diet. And my mind was just consumed with that all of the time. So I wasn't looking at myself or thinking of, you need to lose this weight from a health issue because you care about yourself and you love yourself, and it's healthy for you to lose this weight because of all the health benefits. No, it wasn't that. It was all just appearance, and that was pretty much it. So that's what my mind was filled with. And not being good enough again. It's that comparison. I forget who said comparison is the thief of joy. And that's how I live my life.
So what do you think what was it that made your body get out of control weight-wise in the beginning?
Well, I believe we all have a still small voice inside of us, and it's the voice of truth, and it's kind of our built-in GPS system. And some people are fortunate, they listen to this voice their whole life. And for people like me, that the voice gets stepped on and stomped on. Very briefly, I'll try to tell this story just as far as my growing up. My parents met in World War II. My mother's from England, and my father was in the Army Air Corps. He was a bombardier on B-24s and flew an incredible, I think, 36 missions or something. They got married, moved to St. Louis, and I have a brother that's 7 years older than me, and my brother wanted a baby sister for Christmas. So I arrived a few days late, and life was good. My father worked at a brewery, and one of the perks was getting the perks of drinking all the fresh beer you wanted, with which my mother said he certainly took advantage of that. But unfortunately, alcohol affects people differently, and it drew out whatever demons were inside of him and made him angry and violent. And we never talked about it in the house. It was very confusing. And I had been the apple of his eye. He used to take me everywhere. And all of that changed when I was about 6 years old or so. And I felt abandoned. And as I got into puberty, I mean, food was my source of comfort. And that's how I stuffed my feelings. And then what happened was, then as I started to gain weight as an adolescent, I started reading all the teen magazines and then all that comparison. And I knew I had to go on a diet because I had to lose this weight. So that's when all the madness started with the dieting. So I tried everything that there was. It wasn't until fast forward into that, rat wheel phase, that I knew that I was just going through the motions in my marriage and in my life. So I confided in a coworker of what was going on. And she said, have you heard of the term codependency? And I said, no. And she said, you really need to get this book, Codependent No More. So I went to the bookstore and was thumbing through it, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is me, this is me, this is me. And I bought the book and highlighted about 90% of it. But what I didn't realize was the living with my father and with the alcoholism, I always took great pride in I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't abuse people. I was very proud of, overcoming that. But the fact is, I didn't overcome it. I'd become a workaholic. I used alcohol to numb my feelings. I stuffed food down. I just realized that it wasn't just his problem, it had become my problem.
And what was it that, at what stage of your life did you start to come up with this concept that it's calming your mind that actually impacts your weight?
It's been 12 years now since I've been at my ideal weight. So it's been, that was 12 years ago. I had a quote here from your book, The Manifesto of Your Inspirational Mind.
Yeah.
And it was about freedom. And now I'm trying to find it. Oh, you say that freedom is to be free of any resistance to your own truth.
Absolutely.
And Jesus said in Matthew, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And it's living from a place of truth and who you are and you are and loving who you are. And that was what freed me, I guess, it was the freedom to be me.
Excellent. You also say, I'll give you another quote of yours. You say, learning to be still calms the mind, helps you listen to your body for what it needs, as well as what your heart and soul needs. Can you expand on that, Jackie?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you look at nature, you don't see a lot of fat bunnies and foxes and and other animals. That's because they have this built-in system. It's they eat when they're full and they stop when they're not. And so as far as being conscious of the body and the clarity that comes with that is it's just being able to eat and stop when you're full. I mean, it seems like a simple kind of no-brainer. But it's not when your mind is cluttered, and when you have these thoughts of, oh, you're a big fat pig or something, or, oh, you shouldn't be eating that, or you should be, it's like these judgments going on all the time. And it's letting go of those judgments for everything. And the past is another big thing. It's, because we feel shame, and we feel remorse for, if we've eaten too much or we've done too much, and we need to just let that go and get rid of those thoughts. And when we do, we replace those thoughts with that space to be loving and gentle with ourselves.
I often say that judgment creates all of our needs, the needs that we can't satisfy. But when we feel connected to unconditional love, there is no need.
True. I would say that's true.
So, Jackie, where's this taken you? I mean, you've created a number of CDs. Let me see if I can bring that up. So, this is Jackie's website, if you can see that. And I think you can see the CDs here. So you've got 2 CDs there.
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about those CDs and how people can get hold of them?
Absolutely. Be Still and Know That I'm God is a great CD for beginners, and it's also good for people that are already meditating. But the goal of that is not only clear clutter and to be still, but it's also to be in God's presence. And this CD really allows you to feel God's presence within your life. And so there's also meditative music that goes along with that. So I created it. One of the things that I found were the meditations had a lot of mantras, and you had to use the word or, they were really kind of loud. My cat ran out of the room the first time. And I wanted something quiet that somebody could do anywhere, close the door to their office and be still and refresh themselves. So it's based on breathing, because breathing and focusing on our breath really is the fastest way to bring us into the present moment. And so that CD has 2 options: a short version for people to just kind of get used to clearing the mind, and then a longer version, and then the music. And I'm thrilled with the music on these CDs, because Steve Schenkel is an incredible artist. He is the staff musician here in St. Louis for the Symphony Orchestra and the Fox Theater, and he's done PBS soundtracks. So the music is really, really beautiful. And so he's performed and composed those on the 2. And then Let It Go is my newest one, and that's really based off the 10 secrets from the Freedom to Eat. And those secrets, real quickly, are awareness, acceptance, letting go of judgments, letting go of cravings, discover your strengths and talents, start loving life, invest in yourself, letting go of clutter, and embracing unlimited potential. So what this CD does is it's more of an affirmation. So instead of just listening, I ask the listener to repeat the phrases after each phrase, so that they can bring that into their subconscious and really own that. So it's really letting go of the weight of the past and mistakes and the judgments, and being able to release that and let go and let God unleash the unlimited potential within you.
The reason I think this is so important, Jackie, is because there's a number of scientists out there now who believe that the old thought process, the scientists used to believe that the brain created the mind. Now they're starting to come to believe that it's actually the mind creates the activity of the brain. So if the point is that if you can control the thoughts that are going on in the mind, it impacts your feelings and then it impacts your behaviour. Does that sound right to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you and I have talked about that spiritual flow, and it's amazing. As soon as I get these anxious thoughts and doubts and I'm fearful and everything, I just kind of, like shut down. And when I don't allow those thoughts to happen, or I keep focused and I'm focused on what I'm doing and my mission is, it's just amazing the flow and the peace that happens when you do let go and get out of your own way.
Yeah. That verse that you mentioned, "Be still and know that I am God," that was written, I believe, by David, he was a shepherd boy. So he learnt all of his meditation out in the fields by himself. And that's where he practiced the presence of God and connecting with God. And what it did was it prepared him to go into battle against Goliath. So he had no fear when he approached this monster. It was a giant, compared to him at least. He had no fear because fear wasn't a part of his psychology. And the point is that we all have Goliaths in our life. That our Goliath might be being overweight, it might be cancer, it might be a number of different things. But if we're not prepared, like David was, then we won't be able to slay the giant. So, that might help our listeners to understand the importance of this, especially in these times, Jackie, because the number of giants coming our way is increasing. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the Be Still, I actually have a post. There's another website I have, guidedchristianmeditation.com, that I do my blogging on, really. And I do talk about, when I found the meaning of Be Still, I was kind of surprised. It made me laugh. But the one that you talked about with David was more of being surrendering and being a shelter, and God being a shelter for him. And then I think it's Mark is where it is, where Jesus had a particularly very busy day healing people and speaking to people, and he wanted to get away from the crowd, and he was on a boat and fell asleep, and the storm kicked up and was raging, and he was still asleep, and the disciples were in fear for their lives, and they woke him up, and he just yelled, "Peace, be still." And the Greek, what our pastor had said, means to hush or really shut up. And the storm, had stilled immediately. And I think that's a great analogy of all the thoughts that are, it's like, shut up. It's quieting those thoughts, those stormy thoughts that keep us overwhelmed and fearful, and quieting those thoughts.
Well, this is all a process of renewing our mind, really. So it's
Absolutely.
really, really, really important.
Yes. Well, and it's really important what we feed our minds. And I commend you with your books and these programs, because, if you feed, just like you feed your body junk, it's not going to perform. And you feed your mind, with violence or just not good stuff, for lack of a better word, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
So, Jackie, this has been a great interview. I really think you are onto something here, and I'm going to encourage you to keep going, because I know it's not easy to swim against the tide sometimes, and but this is really, really important, because the more time goes on, the more science is proving that that this is how it is. So yeah, I just want to encourage you. Can you just tell the listeners, just run over it again, where they can find information and where they'll be able to find information on the book once it is published?
Sure, and I wanted to end too with a verse after that. So,
Sure.
If you do go to JackieTrottman.com, and it's good about Google now. If you put in a name, they'll say, "Oh, did you mean that spelling?" And you can find information there that'll take you to the CDs, and also the Freedom to Eat. There's a tab there, and I want to help as many people as I can, because I don't know when the book will come out. So I have a series of emails, and I have a report that I've done called the 3 Diet Traps, which are 3 of the key secrets in the Freedom to Eat that I share with you. And I encourage people to email me, and I email them back, and ask them to give me feedback, and because that's what I want to help people overcome this, so they can do greater things. So what else was that?
That's good.
Was that good?
Yeah. So do you want to finish off with that verse and anything that you can think of? Say the final bit of advice you'd like to give the folks out there that will help them to calm their mind.
Okay. Well, this is taken from Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. And it says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the road is easy that leads to destruction. And there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow, and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it." And that's when I think we do, when we don't listen to the voices of the world that are beckoning us to be busy and to not be enough. There's another road, and it's easy to eat really unhealthy fast food junk, and it's easy to not exercise, and it's easy to not pursue your dreams, but that's not what you want to do. And what meditation will do, and I really hope that you can find some way to be still, whether it's journaling, contemplative prayer, some kind of learning to be still. It will help you to reach down to find that still small voice that is helping you to make the choices, the little choices you make every day that are going to take you to a wonderful life. And most people are asleep. And I hope you're one of the people that will wake up to the ultimate person that God created you to be, because you are unique and wonderful and powerful. And that's just waiting to come out.
Can I finish off by saying, Jackie, that most people think that the choices are about good and evil, black and white, and positive and negative. But really the choice is life, as you just said, or death. So when we clutter up our minds, we're actually generating death in the cells of our body. That's what it comes down to. If we calm our minds down, de-stress ourselves, then at least we're giving our body a chance to take on information and intelligence that gives us life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jackie, thanks so much. I'd like to thank all of our people watching or listening to this. Thanks for joining the Be Empowered show. I'm your host, Graham Hopkins. Before I go, I'd like to ask our audience a favour. If they could leave a review on iTunes, because this is such an important message, and the more reviews we get, the more exposure we'll get, the ratings will go up, and it'll be distributed to a wider audience. If you'd like to hear more about the concepts that Jackie and I have shared today, like feeling more connected, feeling worthy, being in the flow, and feeling more intuitive, then you can go to Amazon and purchase my book, as Jackie said, that's called The Manifesto of Your Inspirational Mind. Or you can actually get a free download if you go to my website, www.beempoweredgroup.com. The free ebook there is Know Your True Value and Worth. So, on behalf of myself and our guest, Jackie Trottman, it's been a pleasure, and we both wish you a wonderful future of freedom, peace, and abundance. Remember, change your energy, change your life. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Be Empowered podcast. For more on regaining your power by bridging that gap between who you think you are right now and who you really are, go to www.beempoweredgroup.com and enter your name and email address to receive a free ebook and get notified of any upcoming podcasts. Remember, when you know and feel connected to your spiritual mind, you master your world. Changing your energy transforms your life.